Good evening, boys and girls. Welcome to another live edition of the Highbury Squad. We've got a good one set up for you again tonight, so please do stand clear of the discussion doors. The signs are there for a reason. The next stop is the Highbury Squad, and it's the Tuesday-ish club back again. Good evening, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Welcome back to the show, my podcast brother from another mother, Mr. Super Kevin Campbell.
Hey, I'm buzzing. I got my man on. I got my mate.
Who is this fella?
I ain't got them moves, Kev. Sorry, I just ain't got them moves. You had them when we was 15. You still got them now, brother.
Hey, listen, all good. Great to have you. Great to have you on, Hills. Definitely.
Yeah, I'll do a little bit of that. That's it. That's all I got.
I love that.
That's a pretty good move in itself. And you're right, Mr. Bungle, two legends in the chat. Oh, that's very cheeky. He's already started off. Hey, yellow card for Bungle already. That's early booking. Better be careful now, mate. Yes, Mr. Hillier is in the house. Good evening to all the squaddies. You got to salute them. Mr. Hillier. There we go.
Nice one.
There we go. So I've been looking forward to getting you on the show. You're always honest, and we always have really interesting conversations when you're here, especially when you and Kev get together. The season is just a few days away. Got a bone to pick with you about the commentary on Tottenham, but we'll get to that eventually, David.
Oh, you're pretty quick in there, aren't you? Straight in with a in the side. I felt that one, but we'll see. I'm up for it.
Bit of a Tony Adams tackle, that one, eh?
From behind, mate. Fake you out.
Well, you weren't looking.
Can't trust them, Kev. Can't trust them.
No.
Let's start with the question that we've been talking about on the show. David, are you looking forward to Friday, or are you panicked or worried or indifferent? What's your take as 3 days approach to the kickoff on Friday the 13th, mind you, for the Gunners?
Well, obviously, the date doesn't bode well with pre-season results, but I'm not too worried about the start of the season. I'm not too worried about Friday. I think really it's the best game Arsenal could have got. Team just come up. Yes, they're well organised. They're going to be difficult, but I think Arsenal will have what it takes to get that win, to get on track at the start of the season. But it's what happens after that does worry me, when the big teams start coming, and they're coming fast. Mm-hmm. We know that they're going to come quick, and we're going to be tested very, very early on by those teams. That's more so the worry for me.
Does it not worry you somewhat, though, that we are playing a promoted team? They're going to want to put their best foot forward back in the Premier League after a gazillion, or the top flight, I should say, after a gazillion years. And the fact that, they play nice football, they can score lots of goals. We can't score lots of goals. We still have issues with kind of how we want to play based on the players that we have. Does it not worry you a little bit about Brentford and maybe their excitement about their first game and what they could do to us at home?
Well, it's always going to be a worry because, like I said, they played together for a whole season and achieved a promotion. So they'll be buzzing. They'll be at the top of their game. I get that. But I just think the step up into the Premier League, hopefully, will be a little bit too much for them on the day. And Arsenal can find their feet. There's been signs in all the pre-season games that they've got the potential to do well. But we've just been lacking up front. I think the defence is looking better. I think Ben White looked great the other day. I thought against Tottenham, he looked strong. He played on the front foot. So there's positives there. But it's that top end. And I agree. If you don't score, you can't win. But I don't know if Brentford have got what it takes to beat us.
Is Sophie frozen there, Hills?
She's looking a bit stiff, to be honest.
Yeah, she's looking a bit stiff.
She's looking a bit stiff.
Hills, to be honest, I kind of agree with you. I thought we done okay. Especially up to about 60, 65 minutes.
Yeah.
I thought we'd done all right. Again, it's just that top end of the pitch. Hills, we need Oba to turn up. That's who we need to turn up.
Kev, I've said from the start, right? I appreciate and admire that the man can finish, and he's got that little thing that you had, that Righty had, you know, where you could just turn a little thing into something and get something from it. But the thing what you two had, what he ain't got, is in between that, he ain't bringing nothing to the table for me.
Like the
in
work,
between that,
physicality.
he ain't spinning in making space like with real intent. He just like trots into a corner only if he's going to get the ball. When he gets the ball, I mean, his retention and his pass rate in the last game, well, I think it's like 60%, Kev, around them figures. And to be fair, that's just him coming off and he should be just laying it off, setting it into a midfield player. That's simple passes. That's bread and butter for you guys. And he ain't doing it for the team. And that's where it breaks down a little bit. But I don't know. I haven't really ever seen it from him either.
Yeah, I mean, would you put it down to, before I start saying my piece, would you put it down to lack of confidence, Ills? Because he's not scored all pre-season. He had a terrible season last season. Would you put it down to a bit of confidence?
Kev, to be honest, I mean, I can't answer that question because obviously a forward's confidence does it. Some of them do depend on goals. Others don't really worry about it. You know that. Some players go 10 games, don't worry about it, and then just start scoring again. But others do depend on that little drip feed of knowing they're gonna get chances and gonna put them away. And yeah, he ain't put them away. But I go back to his all-round game. That's where your bread and butter is as a forward, and especially as an only centre forward. You've got to work even harder. I mean, do you remember all them times Giroud spent up front? Yeah. You know, working his socks off,
and not for a lot of joy, to be fair, at times.
No. But he put, when I look at his performances and I look at Oba's, the goals don't match up. No way, you know. Yeah. But I just think what he put in was there to be seen, and I think if Oba puts that into his game, it just, I don't know, it makes the team play better. But I just ain't seen it. Lacker's got it. He tries and he works in those little zones. But mate, I'm a little bit lost as far as it goes to what we do as a forward, as a centre forward. And I know Sophie's going to get onto me about Balogun in a little while.
Well, listen, Hills, let me just say this. We saw Arsenal get into really good positions up the pitch. I thought Smith Rowe done great at times. Lokonga looks a real decent player. Xhaka had a decent game at times as well. But when we got into that final third, we didn't have somebody, Hills, who could pick the pass, who could finish a chance off. So let's quickly move on to, you know, we're being linked with Maddison. What's your thoughts on a Maddison?
Listen, he is. I mean, he's not a Peter Beardsley. You know, he's not in that class. In that class. No way. He's just below that. But what he is someone who can pick that pass. You're right. But I still go back to the team. If he ain't got the run, Kev, and he don't see that, and he ain't got that gamble to take, because it is a gamble for a midfield player. When you see, you know, like the number 8 spin and turn on the centre back, and you know you've got to clip it into that little area or slide past it down the side, you've got to be brave enough to take that pass. Yeah, take it on. And he is definitely a player that will do that. But without the run, I think he could be faced with the fact that, you know, I'm looking everywhere. Where do I put it? I see so many Arsenal players get it in between the lines. When they break the lines between the midfield and defence, I see them get it, look up and go, oh, I haven't got that run, that angled little, you know, sharp movement.
To make the mind up. Yeah. Because you know what Ricey used to say, you know, you demand it with the way you move. Mm-hmm. Your movement demands the ball. And a midfield player will see, a good midfield player will just catch that and say, yep, there you go. Well, and it might. One thing I will say, I done the Arsenal versus Brighton game at Brighton around Christmas time for Amazon. And being in the stand, as you know, watching it on TV and being in the stand is totally different. You get to see everything.
Mm-hmm.
And Oba started down the middle. And I saw Oba make 1 run, 2 1, 3 runs, 4 runs. And he never got the ball. He never got the ball. So again, I thought we looked a different side when Ødegaard came in. When Ødegaard came in, I thought there was more movement, there was more runs going forward, etc. You take Ødegaard out, who is there to actually pick that pass, Hills? That's the other thing in my head. Who is there that could execute?
Yeah, well, I mean, we have seen Xhaka step up and play some nice little slow passes in, but not the final pass. Not the final pass. It's more of a wide pass out to like Tierney or to cut inside a fullback so that Bellerin can get inside someone, or Pepe, a pass like that. I agree with you. Yeah, I mean the longer pass, you've got Emil and Bukayo. They like to short pass and sort of interchange with each other. Yeah, definitely move across the lines. So that's always going to be a short pass. So yeah, that longer pass definitely. And I appreciate that you've seen a game where he's made 4 or 5 runs and he ain't got the ball. But do you stop? Do you keep making runs?
No,
Should your manager see that and say to the midfield, listen, at some point you've got to put that ball in there because it asks questions of the other team.
Yeah, but Hills, this is the issue. Could you remember there was always when we play, there was always sometimes where is it the back 4 that are too deep, or is it the front boys that ain't coming back far enough? When we started to get stretched, right? Now, when you're on the ball and I make a run, it's your choice whether you play it or not. You understand what I mean? The fact of the matter is, Xhaka saw the runs, because I'm not just calling out Xhaka. It was always when it was Xhaka was on the ball, because the other player was El Neni, and El Neni's not that type of player. So Xhaka's got the quality to do that. Aubameyang recognized that. He made the run, didn't get the ball, Hills. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and that was just in the first half. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, I do. I am, I agree with you that, but there's got to be somewhere within their coaching. Like when we used to train, and George used to say, Dicko go out wide, that he'll make the space. One comes short, one's going to make the run in behind, and as that ball gets played either into the short one and gets laid back for the third man,
back and through, yep.
It's going to go through to the forward, or sometimes, if the fullback was slightly more advanced of the midfield player, that midfield player would just sweep it straight away into that channel because he can see the man who's come short is marked tight.
So that's where the space is. Yeah.
He's drawn the defender in. So Xhaka should be planting that ball in there. But somewhere along the line, there is a, that they want to play this beautiful game where it goes in and out and it's short and it's perfect. And the stats count at the end of the day, but there's only one stat that counts at the end of the day:
sticking the ball away and winning the game.
Yeah,
that's the stat.
Yeah, and you only win the game by getting the ball in the final third. And when it's in the final third, if it's not a perfect pass, you need people to be making willing runs and keeping that alive. And we don't have enough of it. Yeah, you see Leeds doing it, Leeds players doing that, chasing lost causes, and all of a sudden it's an attack with where they got a chance. But we don't see that enough.
Hills, do you think we could do with a plan B?
A plan B?
Yeah. Well, because we get in advanced positions, we get Tierney up the left-hand side a lot, and he whips good balls into the box. We get Pepe, we get Bellerin or Chambers up the right-hand side at times, and we get good ball in. But we've got nobody in there as a plan B to head the ball or to be a physical presence. What's your thoughts on that? Because obviously Tammy Abraham's been linked.
Yeah.
A bid's been accepted, but he's thinking about it. So what's your thoughts on a plan B for Arsenal?
Well, first of all, I think it's a shame that someone's thinking about coming to Arsenal. Do you know what I mean? Someone like Tammy Abraham, it's a great opportunity for him. And the fact that they don't just say, yeah, I can, because we know the money's going to be fine. There ain't going to be no problem with that. He's going to be sorted. He ain't got to worry about nothing.
Ills, let me just tell you, he's
looking at what
he's a gooner. But he's still, no, but he's umming and ahhing about Atalanta, not Arsenal.
Oh, okay.
We've got to probably match their money. If once we match it, then he gets the opportunity to speak. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, I thought he was at that stage already, but
no.
In that case, then yeah, I think he could bring something to the side because of the sort of player he is, and because he's got that enthusiasm, and that background. If he's a gooner, yeah, it can be good. We know we was gooners, weren't we?
Yeah.
When we was kids.
Yeah.
But I mean, talking about the team and just getting back to sort of how we break that area down where we're not performing. Can he step into that, or does he need another player to support him with those passes, like what you said? And maybe I think the manager at the moment where he's going with a lot of youngsters across the front, he's persevering with Pepe a little bit. I think although he is a bit unpredictable, and that brings something to the side, a lot of the time I'd rather have a more stable player there, someone who's just going to get down, put crosses in, and we had a more regimented system. Because I think sometimes where it's all flowing too much, Kev, I think it's too much for him, especially for the young players. It needs to be much simpler for him. He ain't got the players that he had at Man City, Mikel Arteta.
Yeah,
he's got these players at Arsenal. He needs to work with them properly and just give them a really strict directive, and that would include people like Xhaka, excuse me, just putting that ball into the channel, just like we spoke about. Don't play a short pass and try and play like Man City. Sometimes every 2 or 3, just put it in that corner.
Stick it in and let Oba open his legs, let Pepe open his legs, etc.
And get Oba in the game. Give him a bit of, give him something to eat.
Go on.
Give him some food. Yeah.
Hills, what do you think about our squad at the moment? Because I see holes, major holes. How many players do you reckon we need as a squad?
Well, I think as a squad, I think when you look at it, I mean, I'm not sure of the numbers, but I think it's in excess of 35 as a squad of not first team squad, but academy players that qualify. But I think it's experience we need, Kev. We need experience in that squad. And when I look down it, I said to you earlier that Granit Xhaka has got the most experience in that side. And as much as I think he's important to the side, and he needs 3 or 4 other players alongside him. Otherwise, it's all new players or young players. So when you're talking about players coming, they're all learning, and I can't see anything but I can't see him competing with the top sides consistently throughout the season. I can see him having great games. When it's a sunny day up at Anfield and Bakayo and Emil set it alight, and Pablo Murray has a stormer at the back.
I'd love that.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see all of that. But there'll be games when it don't work, and they need experience to draw on, and that's what worries me. So experienced players definitely are needed in the squad.
Hi, Soph.
Hi, guys. Carry on. I'm just going to help moderate. I'm having an absolute technology nightmare, and I've just driven.
Are you in the car now?
Starbucks. I'm in the car.
I like that. That is proper tech. Look at that.
So you guys just carry on talking, and I'll just be here trying to catch up on some of these messages for the guys.
Well, listen, we're gonna chop up this Arsenal squad at the moment because
do it, Kev. Go on.
We're just talking about Hills has just made a really good point about there's a real lack of experience throughout the squad. Like you've mentioned before, I've mentioned it. Now Dave's on it, and there will be good games, as Dave says, but there will be tough times as well because they don't know enough. Lokonga looks a good player. He looks like he could play a pass, but again, he's still learning his trade, Hills, isn't he?
Yeah, I think in the game against Tottenham, I thought he looked pretty strong. He looked nice and leggy. I like that. He looked like he could just get in front of people and nick the ball, and he was happy to do that. Played on the front foot. I think he, like all of the side, and I think Arteta mentioned it. They didn't really, for the first 10 minutes, get the press right. So Pepe was getting exposed over the top of Bellerin quite a lot because Pepe was getting drawn across, Bellerin was going in, there was a big hole. Ben White then had to drop into right-sided sort of defence, full-back position. But when they got that sorted out, yeah, I think he got on the ball nicely. I think he'd do well alongside someone like Thomas Partey. And Partey, Kev, he's got the experience.
We miss him big time.
But he needs to be fit in it. We need 35, 40 games a season out of that man.
Yeah.
He has got to be the Patrick Vieira of that side. He's got to be that player who's there week in, week out. Do you know what I mean? He's got to be that David Hillier, Kev, in there. That's what I'm saying.
Ills, I'll be honest with you. I watched him for virtually 2 seasons in Spain. He never wasn't injured once. He comes to Arsenal. He's been constantly off and on injured. It's been crazy. It's crazy, you know?
Yeah. But we need that stability in there. And that would allow people like Lokonga to go in and, you know, put in a good shift alongside him. Maybe not play every game. Maybe mixed up with other players, you know, a little bit.
Yeah.
But predominantly, you know, maybe a bit of Xhaka sometimes when you need a little bit more height, maybe in defence, or you're playing against a strong side that are going to, you know, pump balls in from set pieces. So you need that height. But he is 6'2", 6 foot as well. So you know, he's not a small lad.
Yeah.
But we need that one stable player. We need Partey to be fit all the time. That's what they paid the money for. And for me, I'm a little bit disappointed, not with his play so much. I would like to see a bit more from him, and I'm hoping this season he would have kicked on. But certainly fitness-wise, mate, I wouldn't be playing every week.
Yeah, but you know as well as I do, Dave. Sometimes injuries, you can't legislate for an injury, especially if it's a tackle injury. You can't legislate for that, unfortunately. And for me, I think when he's not there, there's a gaping hole in our midfield of quality. The quality aspect, we miss him big time. We really do. So, Sophie, what's your thoughts?
Here's one here for you from Michael, a question for you both. The fact that we finished 6 points off top 4 last season, 2 losses, is there any significance to that?
Good question. Really good question. And we had a terrible first half of the season, especially. Nearly losing 5 games on the spin at home. I can't see that being the case this season. But again, the key to it is we need our big players to turn up. They didn't turn up most of last season. We were held together by a 19-year-old and a couple of his sidekicks in Smith Rowe and Martinelli. Saka was the top man. Xhaka came to the party, obviously. Thomas Partey done okay. Lacazette started to find his feet. But we need Oba. Oba, for me, is the key. If we can get them extra goals from him, I think we could challenge. And I'm not saying we're going to finish in the top 4 at all, but I think we can challenge because we've got no Europe. What's your thoughts on that, Ills?
Well, I kind of agree with the Europe part, definitely. I think because we haven't got that to worry about, there's a chance of more stability in the squad, more consistency. Although I hope he doesn't get tempted to rotate the squad just for the sake of it, and that game isn't there to compensate, because before it would have accommodated players who needed games. So I hope that he doesn't feel like, oh, he hasn't had a game, I'm going to play him this week. You know, so I hope it doesn't have a negative effect.
What makes you guys? Sorry, go on, David. Sorry, there was a
no. Please. I love seeing you in the car chatting. It's great. Carry on.
I'm just going to say, make it up to me, everyone. There's 320 of you in live chat, so hit the like button if you hate Tottenham, because
we need 160 minimum. Don't forget.
Tell them, Kev, I'm going to blow the whistle. I forgot my cards at home. What a shit.
Nice
oh
one.
My God,
blow the whistle on them, Soph, if they don't press that like.
I was going to say, in terms of our finishing position, why Ben White and Lokonga right now are the good signings, right? We've seen them. We know Ben White's a good player. We know he can be a good player. He's going to emerge in this team. Lokonga looks like he's ready to play. You know, he's fearless, 21, captain at Anderlecht. We've mentioned that a lot, David, on the show. You don't get picked as captain by Vincent Kompany if you're not a true leader, right? But we've lost Ceballos. We've lost Willock. I mean, he wasn't really starting as Ceballos. We've lost, you know, Jack has now stayed. We haven't improved in other areas. What makes us believe that we're going to be able to finish in a position than we did last season? If this is it for us in the transfer window, which it could well be.
Well, who's saying we're going to finish higher than we did last season, or that we believe? I think we could be round about in the same position. And when you talk about the 6 points, like being the difference between, you know, two places and sort of like a Europe and all of that, it is also, I mean, I do a lot of stat stuff, and it's also relative to how the teams above you did, because they'd have had 6 or 7 games where if they'd have got 1 point from them, they'd have finished second or even top. Do you know what I mean? So it's all relative to your position there. And I think last season was a fair, I mean, we finished with like top 2 status, didn't we, in the last 10 games, the way we played. I mean, we at our end of the season results were top of the league form. But it was that consistency. We don't have that because we don't have the players to maintain that. We're losing players that I think are important. I think Joe Willock could have been a really important player for the club, but I do understand, and this is a little bit of inside information for you. You know, I hope they don't kick me out of Arsenal and tell me I can't come on the show anymore. But I have heard that he had a little bit of he was a little bit of a smart lad, and that rubs Mikel Arteta up the wrong way. And we've seen that with other players. He doesn't take kindly to you know, people not being 100% on board with him, maybe being a bit sort of laddish or whatever. And I think he felt it was better for the team that way to do that. But I'm a bit old school. If he brings something to the side, you keep him at the club, and you sort of play to that, you know. Xhaka, I think he's okay. I think it's okay to keep Xhaka. I think it's not a bad deal. Ceballos, I don't think we've lost anything there. I think he was on a little dip at the end of the season. He made a lot of mistakes that led to points lost. You talk about them points, them 6 points, 2 games. I think it was Burnley, one of them, when he made a couple of horrendous mistakes. And he came on a sub and made a mistake and cost us the points. So you got 6 points there in one player.
Yeah.
Can I'm gonna put up a question for you, because I do want to go back to, like, building on what you're saying, David, and Kevin's comment about Aubameyang. And it's from George. He said, Kev, I asked on a podcast last year whether we had any world-class players, and you responded that Oba was world-class. Just wondered if that was the same view, bearing in mind he went missing for the entire season and some of the things discussed tonight. World-class players don't go missing for an entire season. You guys have played with world-class players. I think he brings up a really good point in terms of, you know, how long a world-class player maybe can go, you know, and go through a rut, right? And without his goals, and if we don't, you know, enhance our striker position, are going to get chances, this is our main problem. If we can't score goals, we're not going to do anything. Kev, what do you think about what George is asking you based on your comments?
It's a good question. It is a really good question. But here's what I will say. Oba hasn't looked himself 100%, but the same old adage goes: a good world-class player doesn't turn bad overnight. Our problem is we do not have the team to carry him anymore. We don't have it anymore. And because he's a striker, his all-round game, Aubameyang's all-round game, as Ills alluded to earlier, isn't built to carry the team. He's a finisher. That's what he is. He's a goal scorer. He might not do anything for the game, and then he'll take 2 chances. But when that's not happening, Sophie, we struggle because he's been the difference maker. Take last season out of it, although we made a difference sometimes in Europe. The couple of seasons before that, he's been the difference because he steps up and scores the goal. So do I still think he's world-class finisher? Yes, I do. But we need him this season. We really need him. If he doesn't do it this season, then maybe I'll have to change my view. I really might have to change my view, but I expect him, I do. I expect Aubameyang to turn up this season.
David, you mentioned Joe Willock and him maybe being a bit smart, and Arteta seems to just dismiss players that he can't manage. And I want to know from you two, we were playing with their smart asses, because maybe Joe Willock and the Reece Nelsons of the world, these younger players who are trying to break through, see a world-class finisher, Aubameyang, really maybe wait, or I don't know what it is, and maybe they have strong opinions about that. Maybe they think, is it confidence? Is it overconfidence? Is it? There seems to be a little bit of a, I don't know what it is in the squad between these so-called senior players and these younger players who've really tried to graft their way through to the first team.
But first of all, in defence of Reece and Maitland-Niles as well, they're 2 very laid-back young men. When they play their football, they remind me very much of Andy Cole, Kev. You know, sort of sat back on their heels. They'd probably be at the back of the warm-up, just jogging when everyone was told to pick it up to 50%, and they pick the pace up eventually. But they are very committed lads. The conversation I had was literally about the 3 lads we spoke about: Joe Willock, Reece Nelson, and Ainsley. And it was just that I think Arteta's style of player, he likes that kind of attitude where they're not too overconfident. They just like, they like to play their football. So yeah, I don't want to get too carried away with Joe Willock being like really smart in training. I'm not saying he's the cocky one. I think he just the way he protrudes himself when he's playing and in training maybe is not what Mikel wants for the squad, and to get that peace in it, because he's all about the squad, isn't he? But I just think that the younger players, when it comes to Oba, I think they need to be. I agree with what Kev says. Oba needs to be fed. He needs the passes. He needs someone around him to feed him all the time. But also, they need to see his inputting in his side. Him making all those little runs and making the effort to get them in the game. So maybe that's where it breaks down a little bit with him and them. But Kev, I think you hit on it when you said world-class finisher. And I think the question was that you said he was a world-class player originally. And I think you're dead right. He's a world-class finisher, and he needs the supply to show you how good a world-class finisher he is. And he ain't getting that. Simple. Look, he's not getting that.
As far as I'm concerned, we're splitting hairs there, because a finisher still is a player. Let's have it right.
Absolutely. If you took 2 shots a game and you scored me a goal every game, I would put you in my team. You would be in there. You'll be in the team. Whatever you've done for the rest of the game, you'd be in there. No doubt about
it. Aubameyang's all-round game has never really been there. And this is our. If he's not scoring, we had Barney's about this last season, Sophie, didn't we? If Aubameyang isn't scoring, what does he bring to the table? His all-round game isn't good enough to really carry the football team.
Right.
If he's not scoring.
No, if you put him in a team, you've got to build players around him to play with him. You can't put him in a team and put him on the left wing. You can't do that because it's just isolating him, and you're never going to see that. I 100% agree. So what you need someone in that midfield who's going to take those chances, who's going to play those forward passes to him, who's going to keep clipping it over to him, keep making him make the runs, keep making him chase the balls. You need someone that's going to do that. 100%. You can't stick him on the wing. And he does get judged for that. He does get judged for being out there when that's not his position.
I think you can play him on the left. Our problem is, for me, we don't have that creativity, that smart player who can pick him out. Because he scored 20-odd goals from there a couple of seasons ago.
Yeah,
so if he scored 20-odd goals from there a season or so ago, last season he struggled. Why? Because we were being carried by a 19-year-old. That's not right. For me, that isn't Arsenal. That isn't Arsenal. And Saka done absolutely brilliant. But the fact of the matter is our experienced players never really stepped up last season. And we need them this season, or else we will finish 8th or 9th.
Yeah, and you said we need them, Kev, but who are they? You name me the experienced players. You'd have probably players with most appearances who started against Tottenham. Hector Bellerin. He's got to be up there with the most.
Well, they want him out.
Yeah, exactly. But he's not on top form.
No.
But he's one of the most experienced players. He's pretty quiet now in the side. He don't get the captain's armband anymore. He does his job, But so he's one of the most experienced. Ben White, no. Pablo Mari, what's he got? 30 games, possibly. Tierney, probably could be up there with Lacazette and Oba as one of the most experienced players because he. It's mad
because of what he's done at Celtic and that. Yeah, true.
It's crazy, But you look at him as a young player in the team, not someone to carry the team. He'll do you a great job, but he needs those people the people that we had, the Adams in the midfield, the Paul Davises the Adams at the back, Boulders, the Paul Davis in the midfield, the Stevie Williams when we first was at the club.
Coming through,
those sort of players to guide you when you get in a team just for a couple of years. They know they're on their way out.
David O'Leary, don't forget Paddy. David O'Leary was there always. Influence.
Exactly. There was always a nice transition of experience with a young player following them up. Now we've ended up with a bulk of young players, and the experience, unfortunately, is with some of them young players as well.
It's crazy, Soph. Can you hear us, Soph?
I'm so sorry about. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Look, apologies on my behalf. I'm just going to moderate if Kev, you can just carry on because I'm having a real struggle with the technology today. So you carry on and I'll jump in when I can.
Yeah, no problem.
Here to facilitate the chat room.
Okay. No problem.
One of the
no problem.
On top of it, I'm for the day. Could you look at David Hillier's help?
Sorry, you cut out there, Soph. What was that?
I was just going to say, carry on, and I'm here to help. So I'll be here to end the broadcast. So you carry on, Kev.
No problem. Hills, look, I want to get into something it might set the chat room alight. Transfers.
Well, get the cards out. Get the cards out.
Transfers, Hills. Transfers.
Okay. Yeah. Go on then.
Obviously, we haven't got enough. We haven't got enough.
No.
If you could purchase 3 players, Hills. Obviously, we need various positions. If you could purchase 3 players, what positions would they be, and who would they be?
I'm all right probably with the positions. Who they would be, I'm not really sure, Kev. I mean, you've mentioned Maddison for a midfield spot. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like him. if there was someone maybe just a little bit stronger as a player, I might be sort of up for someone like that. But certainly a midfield playmaker, someone in the, I want to say Mesut Ozil, but you know, I shouldn't really mention him. It's not really fair. And
well,
because
rumour has it Ødegaard.
He's a great player.
Might be available.
Yeah. So yeah. Let's talk Ødegaard then. Yeah, someone at Ødegaard, Maddison, maybe for that midfield role, and maybe if he came and he had a permanent job and contract at the club, and he'd settled here, he'd be more in with it and get on better than he did. Because I don't think we saw the best from him. I think still, I like Ben White. Ben White, but definitely right fullback. I'm not happy. I've seen Suarez has had a few chances. He's been played at left side as well. He's not really fulfilled the potential I think that he could have since he came. He's had ample opportunity. So I think definitely right fullback. We need someone strong. We need a strong right fullback. And then what we've been talking about all night. I think we need an out-and-out centre forward, even if it's an established man. I mean, if we could have got someone like if this was 2-3 years ago, I'd have said a player like Ibrahimovic. Get him, someone like him to play up top, who knows the role, who do the work, bring other players into it. And
you could trust him. You can trust him.
Yeah, because he's got a reputation to uphold as well, and he does it well. A strong player coming to the end of his career. I think he'd have been a great buy for Arsenal. Fantastic buy. I think we was interested in Kev at the time.
But the Arsenal fan base would have went into meltdown.
Well,
what are we signing Ibrahimovic for? He's past it. He's this. He's that. Listen,
but look what he brings.
Yeah. But Hills. Here's the thing. 1 minute Arsenal fans talk about we don't spend money. Then we sign Ben White for 50 million. We're spending too much money. We can't
talk about Kev. Can't talk about money because look at the money Arsenal don't charge for their players that leave the club. That leave the club.
It's crazy.
I mean, I'll go back a couple of seasons when Kieran Gibbs left for 7 million or something like that. He was a fantastic fullback, mate. He wasn't in the class of Ashley or Gal Clichy. What people like that? That's just 3 left backs, and they've all gone for nothing.
Yeah,
and gone on to do pretty good for themselves. But it's mad. And then in the end we get caught in a market which demands that we have to pay 50 million because what? He's English. Yeah. If he was Italian, he'd have been 35 million. But
the problem is, Hills, he might not come because we've been in for Italian players already, but Italians tend to not want to leave, especially when a Juventus comes knocking on your door. Do you know what I mean? You can understand that's the difficult part. Yeah, that's the difficult part for us.
The same as Ben White spent most of his life on the South Coast. He didn't really want to leave the South Coast, but listen, when the big clubs come dinging, and he's gone the closest to the South Coast. So I ain't saying he's joined Arsenal just because he's nearer to his homelands, but there's obviously a little bit of that in there. Players have a choice now, don't they?
Yeah.
Big players, when they're wanted and their agents know that there's 5 or 6 clubs willing to pay that money. Then they can break it down.
Take your pick, can't you?
Yeah, you can break it down to your personal needs as well. It ain't just about what you want to achieve at the club. Yes, you can set your parameters. I want Champions League football. I want, I want to join a top 3 club. But ultimately, if a club that suits you and your family better, it might be a better decision for you to do that.
And if you're going to play. That's the other thing.
Yeah, and he knew he was going to play. He knows he's going to play because he knows Arsenal are crying out for a player in that position. So I think fair play to him for actually saying, do you know what? I'm going to go to a club that I've watched, for the last 2 seasons, and I think they need help. This club need to be lifted again.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go there, and I'm going to be first. I'm going to be first choice, and I'm going to have to play.
Yeah, I'm gonna do my part. I'm gonna
So he's
play
fronting
my
up.
part.
He's definitely fronting up. He ain't hiding. He ain't a hider. So that's a good thing. But he's still young and inexperienced. You know, he's had 36 games for Brighton last year in the Prem, and really, that's it.
That's even more so why we need a right back. You know, I like him. I like Ben White. I think he's a really good player. But with a proper right back, let me say it, one who's going to maraud, one who can defend, has got a bit of toughness about them, who could slot in beside Ben White. I think then with Gabriel, him and Gabriel centre halves, Tierney and another beside Ben White, I think we're going places, Hills. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think, like I said to you, that right back needs to be someone that's confident, that's willing to stretch right out to the touchline at times, so that Ben White and Gabriel will be my choice in front of Murray, definitely, so that they can play a more expansive a game when they're in possession. You know, I want to see them on the corners of the penalty area and advancing from there, because Tierney's going to go. Tierney's going to push on one side. He's going to drive the team back. And that will free up Ben White, because he looked good at coming and
through with the ball,
making his challenges.
Coming out with the ball, yeah.
Yeah, and that was with quite little amount of time, because he was going straight into the congested zone. Yeah. So imagine him with maybe 2 or 3 yards more space, because he's got a fullback who can give him that. Yeah, a fullback that pushes the other team back. Like we see, like Trent Alexander, what he does when he just gets forward, he just sits out there, and the left winger don't know whether to mark him, and so it ends up he gets marked by 2 players. So that frees up. That's what we need, someone like that, and we will see the best from him. And Gabriel, on the other side, I think he struggled a little bit, Kev, to be honest. But I think that's just because I think it's a bit too close for him, the game. He's always had Granit Xhaka 5 yards away, and he don't know whether to give him the ball or not. It's all been a bit tight for him. He's used to playing a bit more of an open game. So a decent right back would stretch that defence right across the pitch.
I thought Gabriel started really well. And I thought, obviously, after he got COVID and he picked up a couple of injuries and stuff, he wasn't the same. But on the ball, he was fine. He was strong. He was quick. And, I think Arteta wants to play that pressing game high up. You need 2 centre-halves who could run, Ills. If you don't have the centre-halves who can run, you're going to get caught. And Gabriel and Ben White both could shift. So I think that might play into our hands, mate.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they like to run forward as well. That's the key, Kevin. It not backwards. Yeah. I mean, because you've got to say, David Luiz liked to run, but it was always dropping off, wasn't it? This is David Luiz. Yeah, there's David Luiz. Like, there he is. There's David Luiz. Oh, look, there he is. There he is. There he is. Oh, no, there he is. Oh, there he's gone. Oh, damn. Shit. Sorry, just that to do. But yeah, they play on the front foot, and I think the pair of them as well, I think they'll have that good, just sort of idea of when to cover each other, because their movement is so
understanding.
Yeah, because when I mean, I played closer to Boldy and Tony, but you knew that when one of them came through on their centre forward, whether it was like Hughes, say it was Mark Hughes or something like that, and Tony's come short, gone to do him right in the back, right, it's got a nice tight challenge. Boldy would almost be, ready, in line with him, ready to cover him, just in case the hole. But then you as a midfield player would know the areas you had to cover. Yeah. So when you've got players that do that, they're signals to all the other players where you should be, what you should do. If you've got a player that just leaves it a little bit late and then drops off, you're like, shit, I don't know, what am I supposed to do? Should I drop off? Should I go in tight?
Well, Hills, didn't that happen against Chelsea when we turned the ball in the pre-season game? When we turned the ball over and one ball went through to Havertz and he was in on his own.
I think it's happened a few times. I think you'll find it happened against Spurs as well. I think Pablo Mari made a late decision to go in on the initial ball that went out wide before the the ball got cut into the box to Son before it got cut back to him. So that initial move started by the two central defenders. Ben White weren't sure whether Pablo was going to go in, and in the end he thought, "Oh yeah, I will."
And that's too late. It's too late.
Left him stranded, and it was just perfect example, just like what you said. It's the indecision. Whereas you need players that are confident and just bang, do that, so everyone reacts off of it. That's the way it should be, and I can see them two players doing that with each other.
Yeah, I think last season we weren't sure what our best team was, and Knuckles made a good point about, it's not that we spent 50 million on Ben White, but we had the third best defense. Yeah, we had the third best defense, Knuckles, but that was with David Luiz mostly in the back. He's not at the club anymore, so that his quality and his ability on the ball needs to be replaced. That's for sure, and that's why we had to bring in Ben White.
Yeah,
because we struggled otherwise.
He's decent on the ball. But when you talk about stats, Kev, if Arsenal have been weak up front and not been able to retain the ball and keep the team up the pitch, which was a lot of the time last year. We didn't retain the ball in those forward areas as a midfield. Hi, Soph, you're back.
Hey!
You look like you're not in your car no more.
Red card. She got
what's that to yourself?
Hey, hold on.
Give herself a red card.
Yesterday, she's got a red today.
I'm sweating like swine.
I think you should appeal. I think you should appeal after the show.
I'll try. I'll definitely put that. I'll put that in.
Me and Kev will adjudicate.
Steward's inquiry.
You guys just carry on whenever you're ready to, wrap. I'm here moderating, and I'll let you guys carry on, okay? And so.
No, you're in now.
You're
in now. Don't worry about that. You're in now. Welcome back, Soph.
They were all having bets on whether or not I'd be able to drive back home in time, and I did. So.
Yeah, we was just talking about stats, weren't we, Kevin? I was saying that Arsenal, although they had the third best defensive record, you could say that because we didn't retain the ball enough in those final thirds and push the opposition back enough, and that they was under a bit more pressure. So when you're under more pressure, if you perform better over sort of 7 times out of 10, but you had 1,000 attempts against you as opposed to 200, you would be higher up in the scale, if that makes sense. It's a bit like if you're the best goalkeeper in the league, you make the most saves, so you're likely to be in the worst team. Do you kind of get that, Kev?
Yeah,
so it kind of works with the defensive thing as well. So
too
you've got to look at it.
Too much work.
Yeah, but you've got to also look at that and say, if your team are that good at defense when they're under that much pressure, imagine if the front was better, took that pressure off the defense.
That's right.
They could then provide to the offensive side of the team, like Ben White coming through, like the fullbacks pushing on. And again, it goes back, I think, to how we play our front five and the front five players that play in the game. Because George used to say, Kev, most of the time 5 of us were defenders, and we won the ball back to give the ball to the other 5 people that would go and win the game for us.
Glory boys. He called us glory boys, Soph.
But
you had them.
You were. He called you a lot worse than that, Kev. He called you a lot worse than that,
I'm just saying.
Not
worse, but he called us glory boys. The glory. Give it to the glory boys, but I'll make sure we can keep the back door shut. That was the key.
Absolutely. We have jobs to do for each other, and we was key to each other. And we're missing a little bit of that balance in the side.
And I know, and his man management was, he suffered no falls. You guys have told us so many great stories about George Graham, and he really was the catalyst for the new Arsenal in kind of the modern era of football. And, you talk about being good both sides of the ball. For us, it just feels like we've been good at one side for a period and then good at another side for a period. And it's been years since we've been able to bring all of that together.
It's hard, Sophie. Let me tell you something. It's called often, and that man in the top there, he would tell you what it's like as a midfielder. It's the ugly side of the game. If you could get the ugly side of the game right, you have a chance.
Mm-hmm.
You really have a chance.
So I know the ugly side of the game. Wenger was good at that when he inherited your teammates, right? And then as his era progressed, he was more of the champagne football. And the ugly side we kind of became really tepid at, didn't we, really? Unai Emery didn't really have an identity, but he definitely did going forward. We scored lots of goals, but we leaked lots of goals. So this season, with the fact that you brought up again as well, David, a stat that Kev says that the season doesn't start in February, it doesn't start in January, it starts in August. So this whole we were good from January through May, it's all well and good. But our problem has been consistency, and being able to pull all of that together. And that's his job this season. So if there's going to be a conduit to do that, is it going to be the creative midfield position? Is that what's going to help Aubameyang score goals? You know, you've got Ben White. Hopefully he'll build that stability at the back with Tierney, with Gabriel. Let's pray Thomas Partey comes back fit. Lokonga is good. You've still got Xhaka, who you can rely on when you need to. The right back position, you've got, you know, Bellerin, if whether he stays or goes, or Chambers, you know, Cedric. But it feels like that's the missing link. Because I keep saying we need a right back, we need this, this, and this. But in order to kind of achieve what you guys are saying, is that the missing link? That creative force?
Well, obviously the dogs like it in the background. I can hear some howling.
Such a day here, I tell you.
Might start mine off. Hold on, let's listen for my wolves, see if they start. I think like what me and Kev were talking about. Yeah, we definitely need a creative player to spark things off in that area. But when you've got other areas that are strengthened significantly, like the right fullback area, and possibly even out on the right wing, I'm not convinced with Pepe whether he does, you know, he's good, but I don't know whether he's enough to take it, you know, completely forward the side. I think when you get the players in the back that give you that stability and help the team move forward, it allows the players in those forward positions to then more concentrate on their game. So if you didn't strengthen the right back, in my opinion, like against the Tottenham game, what I said about them not getting the closing down right, Bellerin getting drawn in all the time, Pepe getting drawn in, and Ben White getting pulled outside. If you've not got a really strong player in that position who could hold his position there, then that midfield player, even if you buy Maddison, he's going to end up spending half his time tracking back, picking up the midfield player who's going to make runs off of him, looking for the second ball for when it's pumped into that corner. So he's never going to get in an advanced position. So it is, there's a few positions that need to be addressed at one time. And it's difficult to know how to do it. You know, what players, you've got to get them at the same time. They've all got to be playing and fit. It's very difficult. And we need experienced players, like I said.
So for me, Hills, for me, I think a creative player makes a real big difference to this team. We saw, like I said, we saw Odegaard make a difference, and he wasn't even at full speed because he had a couple of injuries at times, etc. But I truly believe someone who could pick a pass, who could have that vision, is gonna change our fortunes a bit more. Because, as I said, for 65 minutes, I thought we were all right from back to front. The problem was, when we got the ball up there, we couldn't do nothing with it. That is a real problem.
I think it's players, Kev. When I played, if I was playing in that game, and I'm no Mesut Ozil. I'm much happier 30 yards deeper, you know, going through the back of someone. But I could still find a pass. But I would know at them times in that area, because of how I was trained and coached by the gaffer, that when that ball came back to me in certain positions and I saw a little space over the back, I'd just clip it in there. You don't have to be a magician to play balls in behind and just drop them in and force teams back. You do have to have that bit of quality when you're picking out the final pass, you know, to someone. You're talking about the assist. But we just need a player who's willing to drop it in there sometimes.
Yeah, but that's the problem, Mills. Exactly what you've just said. That is our problem, because the football that is played now isn't the chance football that we played. Because we'd just take a chance. You'd clip it in and make it a race. They don't play football like that anymore. The football is all technical. It has to be played to feet. It's so much feet.
But it's engineered, isn't it? It's engineered. It's just I know now. I was talking to a lad at a family party a couple of weeks ago, and he plays for an academy in London, and he was talking to me about how he's been learning that when a player moves into a certain position and he catches his eye line, he has to automatically then pull wide, and then if when he pulls wide, that player drops short, he has to then move forward. I said, well, why can't you move backwards? He said, because no, we're not allowed to do that. And I said, but so you can't drop off to make an angle when you feel like you want to. You're engineered. This was an 8-year-old child, Kev, 8 years old, and he had great delight in telling me. And I just thought,
wow,
that is the football we're looking at. Just refined, and it's a shame. And I go back to, I'd like to see that player who just clips it in now and again and makes the forward run and then backs him up and they battle for the ball and cut it across the box. Someone slides in, scores a goal. We all jump on each other, and we're and it's 1-0 to the Arsenal.
1-0 to the Arsenal. That's it.
Yeah,
That's it.
What are your expectations for the season, David? We'll get you out on this one.
I'd like to see a good cup effort. I don't mind which cup. I'm not worried. I want to see them fight for the trophies, because we haven't got Europe, so there's no reason why we can't put out decent teams. And I'd have to say my expectations are probably 6th to 8th in the league. And if we got those extra 6 points we was talking about, maybe nick a 5th or 4th. But if we didn't get them, we could be in 9th or 10th. Difficult to see what happens unless we strengthen before the end of the window, and things might change a little bit if we get that player, if we get those 1 or 2 players we really need.
I was asked on Sky Sports News today if I thought that we would finish.
Oh, I love the way you dropped that in.
And you were fantastic, by the way.
I sent her a picture last week, Kev. I sent her a screenshot of the telly last week. I'll never do that. I got my phone out. I thought, pause that, get her on the TV, get her on my phone. Yeah, there you go. I'll just drop that in.
Well, because I was on with a Spurs fan, and we were going back and forth about a few things, and it was actually a really candid, respectful conversation. And obviously, at the end, they asked us, if finally, after 5 or 6 years, we would finish above them. And I actually think, for some crazy reason, more so than many other seasons, I actually think that we might finish above them this season. But I hate the fact that that's our barometer. That's in my thought, I'm like, oh, I hope we finish above Spurs, because I don't know about us being able to achieve anything else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. I think it was only about 6 or 7 years ago that 4th place wasn't considered, an achievement, and now it's a cup final, isn't it, to get in Europe? So it's just drifted. Sorry, it's just drifted all the way down, hasn't it? To what can we achieve now? Oh well, if we finish higher than Tottenham, we've had a good season. It is a shame. It is a shame that that's our barometer, definitely.
Well, because
but they was pants as well in that game.
Yeah,
they weren't no good. They weren't that good. I didn't fancy them. They got a couple of good players. I like Son. I think he's clever in the box.
He's a good player. I mean, I know he plays for Tottenham, but he's a really, really good player. He's so smart. He's such a smart footballer. I lied because I've had 1,000,001 things I wanted to ask you. I wanted to get all your predictions, but we're already an hour and 5 minutes in, and I know the missus have probably got your dinner on the table. So let me ask you this. In that game, when Balogun came on, you were a little bit hard on him.
Oh, no.
Yes. I have to address it.
I don't think I was hard on him. I didn't attack his game. Attack him.
No, but I think
I just said he needs to do more. So didn't I? I said he needs to actually.
Yeah, but he's not got the chances to do more. And
but when you're a player
Explain it
that's,
to me.
well, I think if you're limited to 10 and 15 minutes and 20 minutes in a game, you've got to maximise it. And unfortunately, that's all the time you have. And if you don't get the goals and you don't do things, you won't get past the people that are in front of you in the side. And I mean, Martinelli, when he came on as sub, and you know, he had more of an impact than Balogun has, I think, in games. So he would be in front of him. So for me, I was trying to say that really Flo needed to come on, score a couple of goals. You know, he needs to rinse the place out, and to guarantee that the manager gives him 20 minutes in the next game. And unfortunately, he'd have to do that for 2 or 3 games before he would get that status, I think. And I haven't seen him really do that. So
Hills, but does he know enough, Hills?
Right.
Probably
Again,
not. Probably not. You know,
yeah, I
it's
think
difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, he needs to learn. He's used to playing under 23s football. He needs to learn his trade. That's what he needs
to go away. I think so. I think so, definitely. I think a player like him with guaranteed week in, week out football, either a top championship club or preferably another Premier League club. I'd like to see him at another Premier League club, you know, an up and coming one.
I don't think they'll take the chance.
Even like a Brentford, I think, you know, someone like them coming up.
He wouldn't play Hills. That's the problem.
That's the problem. No, you'd have to have the guaranteed games. That would be a no-brainer.
Premier League, he won't play. He may be able to play in the Championship.
No, I know that.
Or
and that's a shame.
League One.
Yeah.
I'm telling you now, League One, he will learn a lot more in League One than sitting on the bench at Arsenal. I'm telling you now.
Yeah, absolutely. Even that, I mean, only as a best case scenario, I'm saying, could he get a Premier League club? But if he can't, he's got to get week in, week out football, whatever, you know, at least in the next 2 leagues, preferably in Championship. But you know,
he's a big talent, Ills. He's a big talent.
Yeah.
And we need to fast track his talent. And the only way we're going to fast track his talent is by getting him to play first team football regular. Yeah,
he needs to get some stats somewhere. He needs to get his goals up. He needs to like be at the end of next season, have 36 games under his belt, 18 goals, you know, 7 or 10 assists, and then people will stand up and take notice of him, and he then will be playing like a different player.
Yeah.
But without that, that's what I'm saying. So I was only speaking about him. So in defence, before you get a card out. Right, because I can feel it coming. Right, in defence of him,
as well.
I weren't having a go at anyone. I was just saying I feel in the opportunity that he had was with Arsenal. I wasn't talking about it with other clubs. He needed to do something spectacular to stay in the side or to get yourself picked first.
Right. Okay. Well, like when the referee come over here, you know what I mean? When you get a warning, you've been there. Hillier. How many times has he been there, Mr. Muscle in the midfield? Stern warning. Now you've escaped, but next time you're going to get booked. So that's
one more, Hillier.
One more.
Okay, ref. Cheers, ref. Cheers, ref.
You're lucky I haven't been on the show from the beginning.
You're all right, ref. Yeah, I said that in the beginning. You're all right. Yeah, you're all right, ref.
Oh man. Okay. Well, look, I'm so sorry about the technical difficulties today, and I wish I could start this show over right now because my internet company has got the internet back on right now, and also the plumbers are here to help remove all the water from my home. So maybe I can convince you to come back next week if you've got a spare hour, so we can do over. How about that?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And get your predictions and all that stuff. And
well, it could be even better. We could be sort of top of the league with a 5-0 win, couldn't we?
We're already. Do you know what I love is that we're top of the league right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're actually top of the league, so we should celebrate that.
Yeah. Well, even a broken clock is correct twice a day.
Okay, let's get your prediction for Brentford before you go. Go
on, Kev. Come on. I want to see what you.
I think Arsenal are going to win the game. I think Arsenal are going to win the game. I'm going to go for 2-1. 2-1 Arsenal.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go for 2-0. I think after seeing what I saw of that defence in the first half and the first 60 minutes before the changes were made, before it got mixed up, I think they could have held out at the whole game as a defence. So I think they will against Brentford. So I'm going to go 2-0, Kev.
Nice
All
one.
right. Okay, very cool. The squaddies are coming in with their predictions. You guys will have plenty of time to make sure you
that the
get your
squaddies?
predictions right. Yes, the squaddies.
Yep.
Kev will take us out, and he'll do that whole thing. But right now, I feel like a draw for us. I don't know. There's something about Friday that makes me very nervous. Maybe it's because of the kind of day I'm having today, but we'll see. We'll definitely
It better
see.
be better than the day today. So Friday better be better than your day today.
I mean, my day today is like Arsenal's strike force and our defense 2 seasons ago. It's a shambles, absolute shambles.
Jackie Brambles.
It's a joke.
All right. Well, good stuff. Why don't you take us out, Kevin? David, thank you so much for joining us. And remember, Kev, remind them what they have to do on the way out, the house rules.
How many in chat, please?
There are 460 right now, Kev.
So listen, guys, if there ain't 230 likes, there's going to be problems come tomorrow, Thursday, etc. Come on now. We're working on minimum 50%. If you love Arsenal, touch it, smash it, caress it, even kiss it, but get the likes in. Dave Hillier, my man, my brother, thanks for coming on. We're going to brock the neck if they don't do it. There you go. Ills, thanks for coming on, mate. I really appreciate it. And I'll speak to you very soon, pal. Sophie, listen, you were in and out. You've been having a difficult time, but you still made it at the end. There you go. And you even gave yourself a red card. So you got a yellow and a red. But I'm sure you're going to appeal that one. And squaddies.
I'm officially Vinnie Jones.
Yeah, thanks for joining us yet again. Listen, come and join us tomorrow. And always remember, squaddies, up the Arsenal and squaddies at ease.